Karma is a cat purring in my lap because it loves me. I did not say I was ready for America's Got Talent. But that's a line from Taylor Swift's song, right? And there's another song, I think, by Jojo Siwa coming out or came out on Karma. And this is something that I've been actually holding off doing a video on. One, because I'm extremely passionate about it, and it's going to show. But you know, this idea of karma and talking about karmic justice and, you know, if you do something, then this is going to happen. And, you know, and if you don't do if you don't seek out enough forgiveness, it's almost like it's saying that, well, God's a white dude and spirituality is transactional, right? Like a white bearded dude up there like Zeus, and he's about to bolt you any minute, right? So it's no different. The idea of Western understanding of karma is extremely Christian. What I mean is it's still based on an old idea which says the devil or something or the boogeyman or something evil is going to chase you down and hunt you down, even like in Taylor Swift's like lyrics, right? And yet there's nothing about that in the ancient idea. There's nothing about that in the Buddhist concept. In fact, Alan Watts does a great job of breaking down what karma is. But first, let me talk about the fear behind this, because karma is not something that you should be afraid of. Karma is not something that actively chases you. Karma is not something that you do to somebody else and then it's going to boomerang back to you. Okay, yes, there is some sort of law in the universe that does have some sort of impact on how we treat one another. That is not karma. It is not. There's no such thing as karmic justice, right? Well, they're going to get what is due to them. One, you've completely misunderstood the law, because the law is based on love, not they're going to get what they deserve, right? And if there is love, then part of that love is forgiveness. Okay. And so what that means is you have to be willing to look past the person and see the divine or God within them. Even Neville says this, Joseph Murphy says this, Emmett Fox says this, you know, everybody along the vein of New Thought. Florence Scovel Shinn, right? Abdullah, the mentor for, you know, Joseph Murphy and Neville. All of these people were grounded and rooted in this concept of forgiveness. And, you know, according to Neville, forgiveness is a form of forgetting. That is very hard for people because they want the so-called mythological, because it doesn't exist, karmic justice to come and get somebody, right? And yet the whole idea is, and yes, people have done bad things to other people. I'm not denying that. What I am saying is that you yourself, even maybe as a victim of those types of people in the world, have a choice. You can continue telling the story. And I am not saying that those people have done right, that they don't deserve some sort of retribution. I have no idea, but I'm not in the place of making choices about that, right? And so my thing is that we are basically always swimming in and out of identities throughout the day, right? Beliefs and things that we embody throughout our day, every day, for the next 90, 100 years, 150 years, doesn't matter. That's what we're doing, okay? So if you say, I don't want to forgive somebody, and then you sit in that for 10 years, that's your identity. That's not just something that you choose to do because somehow you feel like you are holding that person in some sort of metaphorical hyperbolic cage, right? No, you're the one who's doing that, right? That's why, for example, in the Hebrew, the idea of forgiveness is very rooted in the idea of standing up. So there's two things going on with that word, right? One is you, by not forgiving the other person, have immobilized yourself. You're not going to move forward. You can't progress. You're literally locked in a sitting position, which is not a position of power, according to Hebrew language, right? The other part is standing up is rising in consciousness. Okay, so that means you're changing your perspective on events. You're changing not just your perspective, but if you believe in the work of Neville Goddard, you can revise those events so they never happen, which means you now become the person where that event didn't happen. Okay? And so that's part of what forgiveness is, even in the Hebrew idea of teshuvah, right? Which is a return. You're returning the energy that you have spent towards things that you don't want in your life, right? And so this is a very hard concept because we have a culture that is so worships the idea of justice as retribution. Justice and retribution are not the same thing. Like, for example, we love watching revenge movies, okay? And we think, well, that's karma. They've got their own karma. It came back to bite them in the ass. That is not karma. It never will be karma, okay? That is simply people thinking, okay, an eye for an eye, boom, right? And of course, as Gandhi said, the guy with a harem, right? It will make the whole world blind. And he's saying that physically, but he's also saying it metaphorically. We're just going to go back to being ignorant, right? And so, we have to go deeper here. And so let's use, the Sanskrit breakdown from Alan Watts' work, which is the word kri, which just means to do, okay? K-R-I. All right. That's all it means. And so karma is just you doing what you're doing to yourself. Let me just say that another way. Karma is better understood and modernized as the word manifesting. That's all it is. That's what karma is. You believe the world is bad, bad comes to you, that's your karma. That's what it is. It's your belief system playing out and you experiencing it. It is not coming back to get you or somehow hunting you down or hunting that person down because you think they deserve it. Whatever it is, it's not voodoo. It's nothing like anything like that. Okay, and I could go on this for like an hour because the problem is, especially in American culture or Western culture or justice-based cultures where we confuse the idea of justice as I need to be violent towards somebody, right? Then that is completely misunderstanding what not only karma is, but then misunderstanding what justice is. Because justice in the biblical sense is psychological. It is not physical. Okay, justice is I'm seeing this the right way. I'm perceiving this the correct way. So there's this verse that I've shared before. It's a very powerful verse in the Old Testament. Okay, and it talks about these scouts, and the scouts are out looking at the land, and they say, "Oh my gosh, we have seen." Or they seem, depending on the version that you're using, right? Or even the modernized is like they perceive that there'd be giants in the land, and then that made them, and they use the same exact phrasing, that made us seem to ourselves as grasshoppers. It's perception. That's really what it is. So, this whole idea of karmic seeds, and, I've read a load about karma from even the Buddhist perspective. And this idea of like the seeds of what it's saying is, hey, you got some beliefs from your childhood. You got some things, right? Some limiting beliefs, some ways of being in the world that you have been borrowing from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 15 years ago, however old you are from your childhood years. Those are your karmic seeds. That means you're simply just living out now what you have believed and accepted then. Okay? And that's all it means. There's nothing about a boogeyman. There's nothing about Satan coming to get you, because that's really the reason why I come back to that is because that's no different. For you to believe that karma is something out there to come and get you, that's no different than believing the devil is out there to get you, right? And the devil doesn't exist. So I want to encourage you to really rethink this, right? And I might even do a workshop on this because there's so much confusion and so much misappropriation and misunderstanding that has caused so much pain, so much unmet anger, I guess, meaning like you're so angry and you feel like the more angry you get, the more justice there is, and so on and so forth, right? But really, you're actually only hurting yourself. That's really, really what this is about. And so that's what karma is. You are doing it. That's what it means. Remember, from Sanskrit, to do. You are doing it to yourself. That's what Alan Watts defines it as, which I would 100% agree. So please remove the idea of karma being something to go do something to somebody else, or that person deserved it, or whatever it is, or I've got to somehow keep everything on my, like what Taylor says, like Taylor's like keep my side of the street clean because, oh my gosh, it's going to come to get you, right? It's not that at all. It never will be. You can keep believing it, but it's never going to happen, right? But back to this verse as we close, okay? Because perception is I'm perceiving something that is to be bigger than me. So then therefore it's going to give me the perception of being smaller, meaning I'm not rising to the occasion. I'm not changing my consciousness. I'm only seeing it as what I perceive it to be, which means the meaning that you're giving it, right? And so that's your karma. You're doing that to yourself. You're looking at giants in the land because they look like giants to you, and therefore that makes you feel small. So what you do, you actually get into the space of knowing and accepting that you are divine and that you are the most powerful being that ever lived. So I want to give you this tip from NLP, which is the circle of excellence. Very, very powerful. You imagine a circle in the middle of an imaginary scene, and it's just you in the circle, and this circle is kind of like a portal almost, and you just throw in everything that you want to feel, like confidence, joy, acceptance, fearlessness, whatever it is, courage, right? And this could be for anything, right? Health, money, a husband, a wife, whatever it is, love, just throw it in there. And then I want you to actually imagine there's a knob on the lower right, and imagine just turning that knob up, okay? And turning it up and turning it up. And when you feel like it's too much, turn it up. And what you're doing is you're turning up the intensity of the color. So that color is any color you want, gold, blue, purple, whatever it is. And every time you turn that knob up, boom, and feel like it. And then what I want you to do is I want you to walk into it. And I want you to feel it all rising up through you, not around you, through your feet, through your body, and feel all of those things that you just threw in there coming true within you, right? And that helps you overcome any fears. That helps you overcome anything, right?